And we are back on the InfoWars Nightly News. Today's date is July 20th, 2012, and it is Friday. And I hope you enjoyed hearing from our guest host today, David Ortiz and Dan Badandi. Both flew in for the second part of the interview process that, you know those guys were finalists in the reporter contest that was huge, overwhelming support for that. Lots of people participating. It's too bad everybody couldn't win, but there are only a few slots available. So we'll have more people in next week, and just enjoy it and see what they bring to the table. Everybody's bringing their own life experience to the table. And a big thanks to Darren McBreen for doing the first part of the news. Now, yesterday we covered a story. Woman pulls gun to prevent smart meter installation. And that was Thelma Taormina. She's from Houston. She had this bureaucrat thug jumping over her fence, going to take down her original meter, her electrical meter, and place one of these smart meters up, which we've gone over the litany of problems they have with them. They haven't been tested. They're trying to push these things on you. And so she was forced to defend her property and herself by using her firearm, which is what everybody's right is to do with the Second Amendment. Because we don't know if this bureaucrat's right. Just because he says he's right and because he claims to have this authority, it may not be true. He didn't have a court order putting this in. There was nothing. He was just going to jump over her fence and do it. She clearly had the signs posted, and she defended herself rightfully so. So we turn now to Thelma Taormina. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. So tell us about this story. I was talking with you on the phone today, and you related that, this incident didn't happen 2 days ago or 3 days ago. Why don't you go ahead and tell us the story?
No, it didn't. It happened it'll be a year ago next month. And what happened was he came around to the neighborhood, was placing door hangers on the door, would ring the doorbell, and all of a sudden he'd disappear. He was gone on to the next house. Well, when I got the door hanger, it pretty much said, "Congratulations on your new smart meter." So I tried to walk down my front yard to catch him, and he was already gone down the street onto the neighbors' houses.
So they were making this.
Back, he,
I'm going to interrupt you just for 1 second.
Driveway, and I was at my back gate, and I went and I met him halfway down the driveway and told him he wasn't going to install the meter. He insisted he was. This went on for 3 times. And then finally he said, "Okay, fine, I'll call my supervisor," which was the appropriate thing to do. The unfortunate thing is either he didn't call his supervisor or his supervisor gave him very bad instructions. Because what happened is he drove around to the backside of my property, which fronts on another street, and he jumped my fence. I was in the backyard, and I was standing in front of our meter. And when he came over the fence, he almost kind of was like on a run because he was a real big guy. He came over the fence and just kind of the inertia just kept going. So when he got to me, he literally shoved me out from in front of my meter. And I asked him to please leave my property, and he wouldn't. And I tried to step in front of the meter again to try to stop him. And then I tried to place my hand on the meter so he couldn't do it. And he just kept shoving me and shoving me. And then he took his cell phone out and he was making a phone call. I asked him who he was calling. He said, "None of your business." And I said, "Okay." And then he said, "I'm calling the police." I said, "Good, I would like them here." And then he turned around to me, closed his phone, and he said to me, "Better yet, you go call the police, because by the time they get here, I will have this meter on and installed, and there won't be anything you can do." So I thought, okay, I better call the police. So I headed in to call the police. I reached for the phone, and just as I reached for the phone, I thought, this is kind of crazy. There sits my purse. I have a concealed handgun license, so I have my handgun in my purse. So I turned around and walked back out my door to the middle of my backyard, and I just looked at him and I said, "Well, how about I get my gun?" And he said, "Yeah, right." Like I didn't own one. So I proceeded to go back in the house, and I did get my gun. I never pointed it at him. It was already loaded, never took the safety off. And as soon as he saw the gun, he turned around and left the property. Now, this guy was 6'1", 230 pounds. I know that because of the police report. And I'm 5'3" and maybe 120 pounds. So he was twice my size. I mean, this guy was a big guy, and he just was taking no for an answer, and he didn't follow protocol at all. So it wasn't like, I'm not suggesting that people, if they see somebody come to install a meter on their property, they shouldn't go out there with a handgun telling them to get off the property. But by the same token, they do have the right to refuse these meters, although the Texas PUC is trying to tell us we don't have that right. But the bill, which is HB 2129, which was passed in the 79th legislature, it actually encouraged the deployment of the smart meters, but it also included a consumer option. And they didn't follow that rule. And they also had in there that they were only supposed to deploy 1/3 of the total meters each year. In other words, this mass full deployment, all done over this short period of time, was never meant to take place. There are letters into the PUC from the author of the bill stating that there was never a mandate, and he's very concerned that his constituents are being forced to take and pay for these smart meters. But yet no, we have petitioned the PUC twice. In order to get a public hearing, you have to either have 25 or more people in the state ask for a public hearing, a government body or agency ask for a public hearing, or an association with over 25 members ask for a public hearing. Well, we have 193 petitioners asking for a public hearing. We also have our association, which is a legitimate not-for-profit organization, and we are an association, and we have asked for the public hearing. They have turned us down twice and will not allow us to have a public hearing on this.
Well, of course, that's why they shoved this technology down our throats, because they know if we actually got to look at the technology, or if there are actual real studies about its effects, we would say no. It's like GMO foods. They have to keep shoving that down our throats, and they don't let us even debate it. It's all, you're crazy if you don't want to eat this. We've had scientists working on it for years. And this goes back, you know, you said they put a sign on your door that said, congratulations on your new smart meter, like
Yes.
you've won something amazing. And then you have signs posted on your fence, posted next to your meter, that you don't want this thing, clearly, no trespassing. You got this thug jumping over your fence and then trying to just manhandle you out of your way. He pushed you 7 times?
7 times.
Yeah, 7 times, pushes you out of the way. The news comes out and kind of does a whitewash story on it, trying to make you look like an aggressor. In my opinion, that's what they were trying to make you do, make you look like you were the bad person for pulling out your gun, protecting yourself. Because they don't want people out there protecting themselves with firearms. They want everybody cowering, calling the police whenever anything happens. The police are going to show up. You know who they're going to side with? They're going to side with the power company.
Yeah, I've heard that has happened. We're finding more and more, though, that we're trying to contact the police departments, because really this is civil law. This isn't criminal law. And as long as no one is vandalizing the meters and nobody is destroying any of the transmission and distribution companies' property, such as the lines and the meters and all of that, then no criminal charges can be brought, nor is anybody doing criminal activity. These companies in the state of Texas, and I'm sure in other parts of the country, I know in Texas, they are using bullying tactics, they are lying to people, they are threatening people with turning off the power. They really are using heavy-handed tactics to get this full deployment out, because CenterPoint Energy has to meet a deadline in order to get the funds from the stimulus plan that Obama put in action when he first took office. That's what this is all about, is those stimulus monies.
Well, and also what it's about is energy control. They want to use these meters to cut off your power, to track how much power you're using out of which appliances. They could even tell what TV channel you're watching at a certain time just by reading the different signal signatures that run through there. So this is dangerous technology that we know. We've seen the government do it before. They don't use their power in a noble and just manner. It's always cramming stuff down your throat and regulating it to death.
Right, and if people only realized, over in Europe, there's already countries that have banned these meters, and they are the same meters that they are putting in here in America, at least in Texas. And to my understanding, the people in London actually have billing plans where they go without power a certain hours of the day, and they have it at night. Also, that they're not using power during peak hours. And these are the same type of billing plans that are coming out from our providers here in Texas.
Yeah.
They want us to go without power. And these things have kill switches. So if one portion of the state needs more power than another, they can flip that switch so that more power is going one place than another. They'll tell us that they're not looking at a national grid, but they are. And why Texas would do that, I don't know, because right now we're the only state that can stand alone with our electricity. Now, we may have to buy more because the EPA has been just so wonderful to make sure that no more plants can go up. But we still stand alone on our grid. If something brings the national grid down, it won't bring Texas's grid down unless they go after our grid also.
And that's the plan, is to nationalize everything.
Yeah.
We've been covering that since we started the nightly news, Obama's power grab. And he said, if you want to run a coal power plant, we're going to bankrupt you. He just came out and said it. And that's what he wants to do.
Absolutely.
And, you know, he wants to claim it's all dirty energy, yet nuclear is somehow safe. Even though, you know, we've seen what happens in Fukushima. Nuclear is not safe. Sorry. You know, there's too many things out there. We do need cheap power, and cheap power is what built this country.
Yeah. The thing of it is as long as you're living, nothing is safe. There's nothing guaranteed.
Exactly.
But the thing that is in our country supposed to be guaranteed is our liberties, our freedom, and our right to pursue happiness. And that isn't happening in this country anymore. And I don't know about other people out there, but I'm not giving up my freedoms that easily. Not for the convenience of a smart meter that really does not save money. And there are serious health risks. We have 3 experts that will come into Texas and testify if we could get the public hearing.
Right. And let's go over some of those risks, because it's a litany of them. I know they cause headaches. They're putting out a weird magnetic field. It's like having what is it? You have those wireless routers, but this is like that times 10 the amount of signal that they're pushing out there. So what have you learned in your studies?
Well, what I've learned to date is that you're absolutely right. A lot of people are all of a sudden having headaches where they never had headaches before. People are having joint aches. People are having tendonitis. It's interfering with pacemakers. These frequencies are actually, just last week, there was a man who his pacemaker actually failed because of one of these meters. It's neurologically, it affects children with neurological issues. The studies that have been done show that all of these wavelengths are affecting the DNA in vegetation and wildlife. So all the claims that this will help the environment is not true. It's going to hurt us. On top of that, and people will think this is nuts, but I'm throwing it in there, they're actually studying the effects of artificial light on the environment. Why would they do that? They would do that so that they can mark territories where there can be no artificial light, which means at night you can't have lights there, which means people will not live there. I'm not lying. This is the truth. You can go out and look on the internet. It's all there. Wow,
that is amazing. I didn't even know that.
Yes.
And smart meters isn't something I know a ton about, but I have done my reading on it, and I had never heard that, the studies on areas with no artificial light. That it reeks of Agenda 21.
Yeah.
If, no human development, we're going to rewild these areas. We covered an article earlier this week about Chernobyl. these writers are going in there saying, oh, it's amazing, the nature has come back and taken over, and it's a wildlife preserve, and the animals don't know about the radiation, so they're just living in it, and making it seem like it's a wonderful thing that we have areas that nobody wants to go live in because they're radioactive. And, you know, that's how, you know, they want to sell and getting us on this power. Now, I want to go to a little bit of a Second Amendment stuff. I guess if you've probably heard about the Batman shooting at the theater.
Yeah.
And this is a situation where somebody carrying a handgun could have ended that quickly. And it happens all the time. People defending themselves when they're in these situations and they have handguns, and you know, when somebody comes up and starts shooting people, there's only one thing to do at that point. And it's not run in fear, because you'll probably end up getting shot. You know, it's opening back up on the guy. But that's my opinion. How do you feel about the recent news?
It breaks my heart. It breaks my heart that our society has gotten to the point where the morals in the majority of this country is everybody focuses on the material things. Success is the amount of money you make, not the satisfaction you get from doing and performing your job or inventing or building a business. It's no longer judged successful. It's all the money. It's the material stuff. That's one portion of it. But when it comes to the Second Amendment rights, what I really get more upset about is that the citizens in this country do not understand that the Founding Fathers didn't give us that right to bear arms simply to protect ourselves against criminals like this young man and what he did. That's not the only reason why they gave us that right. The biggest right we have and responsibility with the right to bear arms is to keep watch so we do not come up against a tyrannical government. And people seem to forget that or don't want to know that.
You're exactly right. It is a checkmate for the citizens to use against the government. It allows us to say, hey, you know, there's only so far you can push us. We're reasonable people, but when you keep pushing and keep pushing, guess what? We have millions of guns and we're buying millions more, and that's what scares them. So that's why they're trying stuff. We played video of Eric Holder saying we got to brainwash the people into thinking guns are bad. You know, we know Obama wants to sign this UN treaty. He can't wait. The UN, in the front of their building, they have a giant gun tied in a knot.
Well,
we know what they're up to.
Yeah, and the truth of the matter is something I didn't know, and I just learned this weeks ago, and I still have to dig into it more. But there was actually a bill, apparently, that was entered and passed in Kennedy's time, and probably because of the Cuban Missile Crisis. They wanted to get all of the weapons out of the hands of the various countries. Ultimately, what they want to do is put all of the arms in the control of the United Nations so that people and governments wouldn't war with one another. Well, our society isn't built like that. We know you take guns away from the average citizen, and those that are in power will abuse the power, and you cannot fight bullets with stones and clubs and rocks and things like that nature. Look at what's going on over in Europe and in Greece and all that. They fight with those weapons because they have no other. And look at Syria. Look at those people being killed. Why are they being killed? Because they don't have the right to bear arms, because they are not free. The solution in this world to stop the madness and all the poverty and all the differences in what the people who would like to control us, the answer to the problems in this country or in this world are giving people freedom, because that is the only way man will ever be happy, is to have freedom and live in a civil society.
I couldn't have said it better than that. Thelma Taormina, beautiful lady with a handgun, taking care of her property, taking care of her household. We salute you here at the InfoWars Nightly News. Thanks for coming on, and hope to talk to you again under better circumstances. Give a quick plug to your website. We had it up under your name, 912membersusa.com. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, our organization is We the People, or the 912 Association. The 9/12 stands for the people we were the day after 9/11. Americans who didn't care what party we belonged to, what religion we were, what race or creed we were, whether we were male or female. We all took care of one another. We all looked out for one another. We all felt the pain of New York City, Pennsylvania, and Washington. We all felt that pain. And that's what we need to get back to. We have to take care of each other. We focus on educational issues, historical education, along with current issues that are happening that affects our rights, and that's what we do. And this is one of the biggest ones, the smart meters. We must stop them.
I agree. Totally agree. Thanks for coming on the show, and we will talk to you again soon.
Thank you very much.
Have a good one. All right, that's our show today. A lot of great people coming in. Darren McBreen, David Ortiz, Dan Badandi. Everybody's doing a good job. We're going to have some more guest hosts next week coming in. We're flying people in, letting them sit in the hot seat and see how they do. If you're watching this on YouTube, please consider being a member of Prison Planet TV. We have a 15-day free trial. It's not very expensive after that, about $6 a month. And you have access to this every night. You got access to all of Alex's films and books. Also, if you're a member of Prison Planet TV and you want to do more, become a member of Planet InfoWars. That's our big social network, and it is filling up fast. People are joining. People are getting together because that's what it's all about. We have to take care of each other, and we can't expect Obama, even though he builds everything and takes care of us and feeds us and brings the water to our houses, even though he does all that, he still ain't going to take care of us in a crisis. We've seen what happens in a crisis, and these guys turn their back on us like you wouldn't believe it. So with that, that's our news. We'll see you next weekend. And I guess we're going to be showing a Dave Mustaine interview probably Monday. He's going to be here sitting with Alex at this very table later today. So with that, everybody have a good night and stay free.